I see you. All right. Well, this one says that you can't hear me. So we'd like to welcome you all here. This is it's really a hard thing for me to do because Ali was like, he was such a wonderful person. I mean, I looked at Ali and I said to myself, and I told others, that he was more native than a lot of full-bloods that I've met. Because he felt it in his heart and in his actions and the way that he treated people. And what I've learned over time is that what really makes a person a First Nation. It's the way that they think, the way that they treat others, and the way they treat their family and themselves. So, bearing that in mind, we're going to miss Ali. Miss him because he had adapted. He had become one of us. And we're going to miss him dearly. So I want to welcome you all here. My name is George Stonefish, for those of you that don't know who I am. And I actually am a Lenape, and I'm from this area. Although my territory is in southern Ontario at the Moravian Indian Reserve, because the Dutch and the colonists, in gratitude for us helping them survive when they rounded our shores here and came starving, destitute with no stores, starving with hunger, we took them in and fed them and helped them survive. And in gratitude, they took our land, they massacred us, and they killed us, and they chased us out of here. So that there are no, like, Lenape villages in New York State, which is our homeland. There's 2 state-recognized Lenape territories in New Jersey. And the rest of our Lenape are spread 2 groups in Oklahoma, another group up in Wisconsin with the Menominee. And then you've got 2 territories in Ontario, Canada, along with some of our Lenape brothers with 6 nations. So we're spread all over, but we're coming back slowly but surely. We're involved in many different projects. And the thing is, Ali was one of the people that he always encouraged what I was doing, bringing the Lenape back and making our presence known. Because it was the right thing. So I want to welcome you all here, and we're going to start with a prayer to open the memorial. Excuse me. Guy.
Also, on the question attack, Wapasha, Niptotan, Shita, and next to India, when and Maui, where Saitua. So we can actually all stay seated. Eyes again, stay seated. It is our customary way at home on the Indian reservation that when we offer our tobacco, they ask that one that's speaking and praying be the only one standing, and the others be sitting closest to the Creator, is what I was told. My English name is Guy Ryder, but my real name is Monaquit. Monaquit translates roughly into very good looking and handsome. In the dictionary, though, you might see it means tall skies. I met Ali back in 2008. She just bumped into him at the UN back to back. I was backing up and I actually ran into him. When he turned around, I turned around. It was pretty much love at first sight. We started talking and he asked where I was from. When he heard I was from Menominee, I could see he lit up. it was over from there. I've been coming to the UN, bringing Menominee youth here since that time. We obviously haven't been back in a couple of years because of COVID, and on the way here on the plane, it was something to feel the city and coming into the city, and it felt for me just a little bit emptier. But my relative here, my uncle here, is no longer here, and I appreciate him so much and all the things that he's done for us and for me. There's a saying I know our old people used to say that you always take care of your visitors. Make sure your visitors are really taken care of when they come to see you. And I remember one time one of our elders said, our old people were so gracious. Even after the meeting all day with these officials and these government officials and things. And after the meeting was done, one of our elders got up and said, I invite you all to go home. That's how gracious they said our people were. And I didn't quite understand that, although my grandmothers and fathers were very gracious with their visitors, but I didn't see it on that kind of level until I met Ali. And he always made me feel like I was at the top of whatever, and I was the first. And our young Menominee children, he would do anything for them. And I'm so grateful. Mackie, my brother, I love him, man. And, all the family here, I see the Waffle and everybody. I wish my Aunt Gina was here, but it is what it is. I'm going to quit blabbering in this foreign language, and I'm going to speak our sacred Menominee language. I'm a second-generation learner of our language. I would never say that I'm fluent. I'm conversational, and I can probably poke fun at a lot of you would never know what I'm poking fun at. I'm also was happy to see one of our tribal legislators here today, Ms. Fernandez. I sent her over here to make sure I wouldn't lie or keep an eye on me. But I'm going to say about that much, and then I want to use our language. Kamasa Noah, Simon Ato. Maoni o Wakakan na se wanani sa katsimoni met na at the moya maoni na tana way maka na kayo sa itua swana min kuta so mat no kamaka sewa maoni means yola pashikta maoni no mantre tawak maoni kitskiwa maoni no mantre tawak maoni way kayo sa itua swana min kuta so mat no kamaka sewa pashikta to talk you. Maoni na tana way maka Matt and the Nela. Why Wyland Katanan, Maoni Kako, and then Station in the Kea. So Pat, I'm off to see him, Chick the Spokesman, Maoni Kako, and it's Pitek Matiku Kiki, and that talk, Pichi had to it. Maoni way I can sleep to it. So Katsumoni, I met the Maoni Maso, Skinik in the cup, Ochikasia in the cup, Skimoka how in the cup. The Samuel Watakan, Naomi Watakan, Queso, Cocomaso, Kamakamasaka, Simonia, Metnama, Waiwan, Katan, and Mao, and Kako, Nate Stace, Main again. And Skoswin, Mashik to Talkasian, Tanaway Markin, and they. Oh,
he's got some really nice legs. Make him sort of cute. In any event, thank you very much. You have to realize that when we have doings with the Native community, that a memorial is not a somber event. It's something where we laugh and we remember the person who has passed, and we engage them with humor because it was the way that we dealt with them before they passed. We should continue that and send them on their way. Now we're going to have an honor song by Gina Blackout. Is she here? Gina. I think she comes to me. She's on her way. Does she need a drum? No. I haven't had to.
I hear you, it speaks to me. You are sacred night. And the storm, the song, peace has been here all along. Oh,
That was ace. Now, we're going to engage in some speakers here. Oh, I think what we're going to do is we're going to bring up Chief of the Pushpatox, Harry Wallace. Harry?
We komen então, que we say in the Dusowitz, to rip us the chash, Uncle Joe, skiton, meta in the Chipara, Puspatop meta. Welcome, my friends and relatives. My name is Harry Wallace, an elected chief of the Uncle Chuck Nation, Turtle Clan, and I am Three Fires Madeira. And I had to borrow some tobacco from my brother over there. I'm the one that sends all that tobacco from our homeland. We send that all out, and it figures that when I need to speak, I gotta borrow something. So I do have it. So I'm sad to be a part of something that is a loss to us, but I'm glad to be here to honor this man. Okay, I want you to understand that on this territory, we were told, I have been told that there are many who have left. We left voluntarily, and those who were forced to leave. But those who stayed would endure unspeakable suffering. And that's what's happened to our people, because we stayed. We were not forced to leave our territory. We were not forced to abandon our homeland, but we endured unspeakable hardship. But this land is still governed under the rules that we set down. And that is the rules governed by the wampum known as the dish with one spoon. And that means that you are welcome in our territory if you come in peace. And it is also governed by the wampum known as the Turo. And that means that we can live together in harmony, but we do not interfere with one another's way of life. So those two philosophies still govern this territory. And as George said, in our way, we may not possess this land, but we still own it. And this land is governed under the rules that we set down. They can abuse those rules, but they can't change them. And that's what's important that you understand. Okay. So Ali, I could stay here all day and tell you all those stories, But then I would be embarrassed because I don't want any children to know what we know. So I offer this tobacco as a welcome to our territory, welcome to our homeland, and to be a part of this celebration of this life. When we offer that spirit plate, it's welcoming those spirits who wish to come here and be with us today. And because they're here and be with us today, they like to eat too. So we offer them food. So we say this, I offer this tobacco. And again, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me be a part of this celebration. And it's good to see all these beautiful faces here today. And it's like you say, I'm not a man, he's your money, don't. 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 I'm in God.
Thank you, Chief Aaron Wallace. Always full of wisdom and guidance for all of us younger people like myself. Lamis, Steve. Lamis. Sorry. Thank you. Lamis, Steve. Are you here? Lamis, Steve. Oh, didn't you introduce me?
Palestinians always have to try to take up as much space as they can because it's too late. You know, I remember the first time that Ali brought me to Ingrid's memorial. And it was the first time in a long time that I had felt home in this country. And it wasn't only because so many of the people here were so welcoming, but it was because the similarity of our songs and of our notes, of our rituals and our dances, and I truly felt at home. And so it was natural, and I was so happy to see that Ali, a Palestinian refugee, had found home amongst the First Nations of this country and its land. This is one of the greatest gifts that all of you have given Ali, and therefore have given to us. It had been a long time since I had joined Ingrid's memorial, because around this time each year, I traveled to be with my family to pray at my father's grave, who, like many Palestinians, wished to but could never go home. And so I begin by reading for Ali, as I would my father, the Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik Yawm al-Din. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. الله يرحمك برحمته ويغفر لك بغفرته حبيبنا علي. اللهم آمين. Ali was indeed like a father to me, as he was to so many people, Palestinian and otherwise, young and old. Around this time last year, I sat at a conference for Palestine with Ali to my left, and as I snuck snacks into his pocket, he comforted me. And we called him up to honor him and say a few words, and I think that was the first time that I saw Ali cry. Because no matter how tired, how busy, how overwhelmed, whatever he was feeling, when Ali greeted me or I saw him greet anybody, it was always with a smile. So that was the first time that I saw Ali shed a tear, which beckoned our own tears, and heard his voice crack. And I realized that in asking him to feel and reflect on his life of service, I had asked him to pause from service and to allow himself to feel. And we had picked on a scar, the scar that had shaped the entirety of Ali's life, the scar that he buried deep and dare not touch because his longing and his love was too big and raw, even for the mountain of a person that was Ali. The scar of the refugee who, aside from the love of Ingrid, longed for home, for the life denied him by Zionists. The scar of a freedom fighter, a revolutionary, who took his beloved Ingrid to the refugee camps of Lebanon to raise his fist and his rifle against the Zionist genocide. The scar that left his body scarred until the last days of his life. We picked his scar and reminded him not only of all that he gave, but of why he gave. And so when he spoke about love and about his hope in us, he was moved to tears, because it's easier to give and to serve than it is to feel all these feelings that motivate us. And Ali gave like no other, because Ali was a master of love. He came to the US still with the physical scars on his body and the scars and trauma of war and massacre. And he helped mobilize what would become the international movement in solidarity with the Palestinian people, November 29th. He organized and mobilized not just in New York, but while building and supporting freedom fighters in Palestine and Lebanon, however quietly and in any way he can. He saw the failure of the hopeless and opportunist political class that sold out and gave up with Oslo and neoliberalism. And though he maintained his diplomacy and relationships, he poured into the young revolutionaries who, like him, had a stubborn hope and an insistent belief and faith in the liberation of all of colonized Palestine. He worked on the campaign for the justice for Nizar Banat up until his last days with us. He taught and he loved and he gave and he connected and he sheltered and poured into so many Palestinian freedom fighters here and abroad for so many years. In my own most trying times at what was perhaps the most difficult period for Palestinians in the US, when our community was being raided, and when I raced in my capacity as an attorney and advocate to protect those who were most demonized, and we had no allies on those very front lines, the only person in this country that raced ahead of me to shelter me, to open and protect the road so that I could be of service with him. He sheltered and nurtured and loved me. And he, who was my hero, tried to convince me that I was his directive. And in some way, he was right, because his directive was the future. His directive was love. Indigenous love, the love of the land and of the people and of the youth, a wise love that understands that community and our environment comes before the individual need. The consistent love, free of contradictions and constraints. Ali was a source of fuel for so many of us, materially and spiritually, by pouring his love into us. And George was right. Coming into New York and being here simply does not feel the same anymore. His love was the highest, the love of martyrs. He lived truly his entire life as a martyr, giving no matter what he had and what he did not have, no matter how tired or how dangerous, connected the powerless with the powerful. He lived and left us as a martyr. And we say what we all know, which is that our martyrs do not die. They become the fathers of our nation, the fathers of every generation, the eternal teachers and north stars. And if it's okay, I've stitched excerpt of 2 poems by Mahmoud Darwish on martyrs. The martyr besieges me when I live a new day. He asks me, where have you been? Return the words you gave me as presents to the dictionaries. Relieve the sleepers from the buzzing echo. The martyr teaches me there is no aesthetic outside my freedom. The martyr explains, I have not searched beyond the distance. I love life on earth among the pines and the figs. The martyr besieges me, do not walk at my funeral unless you knew me. I don't want compliments from anyone. The martyr warns me, do not believe their ululations. The martyr besieges me, I've changed nothing save my position and my poor furniture. To resist means to be confident of health, to be confident of your incurable malady, the malady of hope. And when the martyrs go to sleep, we wake up to protect them from amateur mourners. And we tell them, may you wake up to a homeland of clouds and trees, of mirages and waters. And as Ali rests, we join you to say that we are awake, that we vow to make sure that during our lifetime and before our passing, that our words to him and his cause will not be forgotten. We reaffirm that our words are neither empty presence nor buzzing echoes or compliments. Our love for him, for all he gave and for all he loved, and his lessons live on. In our love and our service for the people and the land. And we echo his desire when we say the sacred words, long live Palestine. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Long live Ali, long live Palestine.
So did she take my library?
I got more.
Another note.
All right, Jamal, recording. Recording. Huh? Dr. Jamal. I'm sorry, I didn't say doctor. Yeah, Dr. Jamal, please come speak.
Assalamu alaikum, مساء الخير, كل عام وانتم بخير. Good evening, everyone. Please allow me to read them. I met Ali in Havana, Cuba on September 1980. At the time, we attended the language school, a small city near Havana, Cuba. I remember he came 2 weeks after me. Then, by coincidence, he was sent to live in my same student bedroom. So he was sleeping on the bed close to me. He becomes my best friend and roommate. We were 4 in each room. We call it in Spanish albergue. And we used to do everything together. So we shared food, we shared the dream, we shared the dream of graduation as a professional one day. We shared the economic Cuban hardship and the tropical warm weather of the Caribbean island. And most importantly, the one that Ali was always not happy with always the mosquito bite. We had fun and joy in Havana without yet learning how to speak or understand the Spanish language, which Ali never understood why our teacher in Cuba, they didn't know English language. And he think it was very hard at the beginning. But then days went and we finished very well. 2 months after we start the language school, we saw a new 2 females coming to join us. And then after we saw them, Ali told me that he likes that girl with the long hair. By then, I learned that they were American. So I told him, Ali, don't even try anything because we are Palestinian and those are American citizens. And he said, no, they are Native American. Actually, he said, Red Indians. After that, he becomes little by little, day after day, very good friend with Ingrid. And he stopped studying with me. And that became his love story. After we finished the language school, we went to different university, and he went to a province very far away where I am. So actually, we didn't have a lot of contact. And I graduated from Cuba and went to work practice in Spain and Morocco. And then Ali, I hear that he and Ingrid they married and they went to Lebanon, and then he came to America with them. They passed, then after 30 years, after I left Spain, I was in Morocco, and one day I find Ali on Facebook. Thanks to the technology. And I talked to him, and I told him about my desire to come to America. And he was very welcoming. And as usual, and on October 1st, 2014, he was waiting for me at JFK. And he, as he used to do for so many friends from all over the world, he brought me to his home. He showed me around the city, and he honored me with his generosity and told me that I am not going to leave his home till I find a medical decent job. And that's what happened. I stayed like 5 months at his home, and with his beloved son, Mahdi. I will always remember Ali as my dearest friend, the one who took care of me and even offered me his own bed. No one ever in my life ever did that to me. I owe him a debt of generosity and gratitude for honoring me, for his great generosity, for his loyalty to our friendship after 30 years of separation. I shall always miss my dearest friend Ali Saleh Elissa. I want to say 2 words in Arabic for his soul. صديقي علي الله يرحمه يعفو عنك ويغفر لك. Thank you so much.
Moving on. We are now going to have as a speaker the Honorable Noli Okatira. Did I pronounce it correctly? Unfortunately, she has not been able to secure a visa to come to the state. So she's here with us in spirit though. To acknowledge that. And now we get to, oh my goodness. James. We're going to Menomineyville. James, are you here? Let's see. James Oahu. Washington. My goodness, I got that right. Oahu. Are you Oahu?
Good evening, everybody. Also, now in we are Shik Nich Machitawa, Shik Tano Makna, Luisuan Oguaho James Washawatuk, Initskiweki and Satya in Farmington, New Mexico, Kike Nematamosin, Ino Matamo, Owiswan Brenna Clanny, Washnawata, Mishik Nis, Minichianak, Nitan, Ino Kitsesa, Owiswan Desba, Ingrid, Washnawata, Mishik, Keats, Panisa, the Keats, Owiswan, Dylan, Washnawata. Nikia, Owiswan, Regina, Washnawata, Mishik, Notnan, Owiswan, William, Billy, Lazor, Katna. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I had the privilege and opportunity to learn some of my language, and thank you for indulging me in introducing myself in Menominee. And I introduced myself by saying who I am, where I live. I'm here with my wife and our 2 children, and we live in Farmington, New Mexico, in the southwest in New Mexico. My mom, her name is Regina Washnawata, and had hoped to be here this evening, and unfortunately was not able to make it due to flight issues. But she's watching. Hello, Mom. Is here in spirit with us as well. I also introduced my dad, who is the late William Lazor. Forgive me, I also meant to introduce my brothers, Nema Owiswan Miyakani Kakak, Satya Eomas. Miyakani is here this evening, and we'll be sharing some remarks here after me. And another brother, my older brother, who's also watching, was not able to attend this evening, Daniel Blacko. It's a rope. And also finally, the Puanaman, the Wiswan Arjuna, Washnawata, excuse me, Arjuna, Blacko, gifted us with a beautiful song earlier. I'm honored this evening to provide a few remarks on behalf of our family, and share with you a few thoughts and memories of what my Uncle Ollie had meant to me and our family. Before doing that, I'd also just like to extend thanks to everybody that made this possible this evening. This is an extension of Uncle Ollie's work, bringing everybody together and still bringing us all together here this evening in his memory. And that I think is the power of Uncle Ollie's work and a continuation of my Aunt Ingrid as well. I would like to thank everybody, Tricia, Paul, Stephanie, Gail, the Peace Development Fund as well. And of course, as I'll get into some others as well. The meeting that our family had with Uncle Ollie, as the previous speaker, Dr. Jamal, had mentioned, was the meeting of my Aunt Ingrid and Uncle Ollie in Cuba as they were studying. And it's a story that I could not do justice for, but as many of you may have probably heard, is one that's certainly one that is worth a movie. The study in Cuba of two meeting in a foreign land with similar struggles and interests, and based on that brief yet deep connection, and then as quickly as they met, having to then depart, and Uncle Ollie, then Ollie at the time, leaving for a cause greater than himself, fighting for the Civil War overseas. And based on that meeting and that connection that they had in Cuba, and Ingrid decided to travel across the world to a land she had never been before, as far as I know, by herself, managing to find Uncle Ollie. And from what I understand, having to go undercover in disguise and meet Uncle Ollie in a tent. And based on that, then getting married in Syria, from what I understand as well. This story that I would hear is a story that I would want to hear more about, because it's a story of love and commitment, and the love of their, not only each other, but their struggles. And despite Uncle Ollie's love of his struggle, sacrificed and moved with my Aunt Ingrid to establish a life in New York, here in Brooklyn. And through that love, I've created Mackie, and probably the only Palestinian Menominee that exists. To look at him, I mean, you would wonder, why haven't they done this before? The love that existed created a wonderful person. And through that love, Uncle Ollie remained here and remained committed and devoted to our family. And I'd like to share a couple stories, if I may, of family stories that we would tell about Uncle Ollie during his time here, during his time with our family. And one story, if you'll indulge me, was a story of when Uncle Ollie first moved over to New York, to the United States. And one of the ways in which he would support himself was to have, he managed a store. And during this time, managing the store, one of the workers came inside told him, Ollie, someone's outside, someone's trying to steal your car. And the warrior spirit in Uncle Ollie, without hesitation, ran outside, sees a guy in his car with his legs out, his torso inside the car, doesn't stop and say, oh, hey, what are you doing? Runs up and kicks the door on the guy's legs. Not knowing that this was a police officer. Not knowing that there was another police officer. And the other police officer drew his gun and points it at Uncle Ollie and says, hold it. And again, undeterred, Uncle Ollie says, hold it? You're holding the gun. You want me to hold it? And that was a story that I always loved because it demonstrated his warrior personality. And then, of course, of not being a native English speaker and the literacy of holding the gun, not understanding, was a little amusing. That's one story. The other story I'd like to share was with respect to when Uncle Ollie would come and visit with our family. And every time he would come and visit my grandpa, he would want to make spaghetti. One of the things that my grandpa would like to make was spaghetti. He was a good cook. He would get up early in the morning. It was an all-day process. He would let the spaghetti sauce simmer. And every time they would come, at dinner, Uncle Ollie would eat with us, eat spaghetti. Much later, after my Aunt Ingrid's passing, after my grandpa's passing, we were talking one evening about going out to eat for dinner. And somebody had suggested, can't remember if it was myself, maybe someone else, oh, let's maybe try Italian. And Uncle Ollie says, oh, I hate pasta. That was the first time I had ever heard that Uncle Ollie hated pasta. Because every time my grandpa would make spaghetti, he would eat the spaghetti. And that demonstrates, I think, also the other aspect of something that I cherished and loved about Uncle Ollie was the diplomacy of Uncle Ollie. Despite his hating pasta, that did not prevent him from going into his father-in-law and his mother-in-law's home for a meal that was prepared for him and receiving that meal. So those are a couple stories that demonstrate what he's meant to our family. And just a few concluding remarks, if I may. Personally, I've also had a connection to him, not growing up with my own father, having a male positive figure, of course, was something I think that I was always naturally drawn to. And seeing the commitment and devotion that Uncle Ollie had in helping raise Mackie, despite the tragedy and the deepest grief and sorrow that existed after Aunt Ingrid's passing and loss, tragically, how that would cause any lesser man to go deeply down a different direction, and how you could see that easily occurring. But without the support of God, being able to come and help raise Mackie. And of course, then also in the creation of the Flying Eagle Woman Fund and helping continue Aunt Ingrid's work and the peace and justice, despite the tragic way in which Aunt Ingrid her life was taken. Instead of becoming vengeful and filled with hate, seeking peace and justice, and just as vigorously as he did during the Civil War with respect to taking up arms, took up diplomacy in seeking peace and justice. And with the help of Fran and being able to help with the Flying Eagle Woman Fund and continuing that work, along with, of course, Alexa and the support with giving support with Mackie and the Flying Eagle Woman Fund as well. Despite that tragedy, being able to continue on and make those decisions and raise his son, his family, and continue the work of his wife, and the honor and commitment and devotion that showed was very impressive, of course, to me as his nephew. And finally, I would just conclude by saying that may we continue to honor his work through the kindness, the love that he shared in all of the encounters that we've had with him, and continue his memory through our gestures and actions, and continued kindnesses and love that we may share. If it be only in a small smile with our loved ones or with a stranger. Thank you.
Mates, are you here? Mates. Now that is a mix. Hello, everyone. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here. I haven't been to since a while. But I've known my Uncle Ollie my whole life. He's played a huge part in my life, and I can hear him right now. Yakin, you better say something. So, and I would like to honor him and the love that I'm going to say through my words. Yeah, like I said, I've always known him my whole life. He was my Aunt Ingrid's husband. He was my brother's dad. He was my mom's brother. I remember young, he loved our reservation. He always showed up with the newest camera, and it never stopped. And I think a lot of the videos are starring me and Maggie. Some that he wasn't trying to have us in, but we definitely played a part. Growing up just like my brother, I didn't have a dad either. I came from a single mother. And how he's played a very good part in my life was that he opened the door for me that not a lot of kids get. And he was able to provide that for me at a teenage time in my life. He allowed me to come out here and experience high school. He took me in, with every love and care. And I very appreciate to be a part of your life. That's something that's kind of distilled in me now. Amongst other things, I have 3 kids now, and
They're Menominee Navajo, and I still say to my son, "Yellow son," because I thought. It's always going to be a part of my life, and to look back at it now, to deal with the loss of his wife, to deal with a kid that lost a mother, and then to take on a kid from a single family from the reservation that, looking back now, had all kinds of issues. And just to see him be able to hold his composure and stuff, and to hold all his emotions, and to be able to love people also, it's truly amazing. And I wouldn't trade anything for that. This is the first time coming out here since he's been gone, so it's a little different. It's still trying to get used to it here. But most of all, I'm gonna love him. I'm gonna continue loving him. I'm gonna miss him. And most of all, I'm gonna honor do how I live my life and how I treat it. But yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to say.
Well, we have a special treat this time. Jennifer. Going to have a song. Share her voice.
Oops. This mic is. So, let's see. Most of my adult life, went to NYC to be honored to be able to participate in the community. Ingrid and Ali, especially as I got older, were just sort of a staple. Ali was kind of the mayor of the permanent forum. He was a foodie. You know, when you were hanging out with Ali, there was some good food happening. And funny stories, and I'll never forget his voice, or Ingrid's laugh, but Ali's voice, and just took care. Was never gross. He was that good uncle that you can trust, and just kind, the kindness. And I gotta say this too. I'm sorry, Lamis, that you went first, because that made me cry and mess up my makeup and my sinuses. We never had a moment in the bathroom about our hair. I'm honored to have been asked to sing again. I didn't need to do it. Can I use it?
Sure.
Thank you. For Maki. Maki, as Ali would say. Maki and Don, both sides of all the families, for Ali also. What?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That was ace. All right. Dr. Patricia Bravo. Oh, I want to say Bravo. That's what it says here, Bravo.
Bravo, 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 bravo.
I don't know, I haven't heard you speak yet. Come on, Bravo.
Okay, I didn't prepare anything, I would have the opportunity to talk to you guys. Speak about having Ingrid. I met Ingrid in Cuba many years ago, which one about 40 years ago. We were very young, 23 years old, more or less. I was with Ingrid and we were going off Cuba. She likes to put shorts and go around. And we have kind of a very good, like, we felt like sisters. Then we were invited in Machu Picchu by Ali and his friends. They would want me too much. We don't want Ali's friends. That never happened. But it was the birth of a very nice and loving relation between Ingrid and Ali. They keep giving us a lot of teas, every kind of teas. They're taking all these things. And after that, then Ingrid and Ali became very good friends, and then they were boyfriends, girlfriends. And I was going out with them, the three of us, all the way Havana, back and forth. And after that, then Ingrid, she learned Spanish as well as Ali. Then Ingrid returned, and after that, then was the whole thing, Ali getting back to Ingrid. And my family, my mom, helped a lot in that. They were a very loving couple. We became very, very good friends. And Ali, we continue after we lost Ingrid. We continue very good relations. Every time I came here, Ali was there. And we have very nice pictures about only that. But when we came from Cuba to the reservations, that's another, we took a lot of pictures, and we took it to Oahu. That at that time he was 7 years old. A long legacy and a long history. And I love him very much. He was my brother. Ingrid too. So this comes from many, many years ago. And as he is, he's every friend that he has, he's very serious about maintaining that friendship, however it is, and he will be in my heart and Ingrid for many, many years until I leave. Thank you so much.
Well, we have come to the part of the program. We're going to separate things. We're going to make the transition from a memorial for Ali to planning committee meetings for what we're going to be doing in the future in his name. And I would like to have the lead off done by Paul. Paul, where are you? Oh, he's hiding in the corner.
Hello, Paul Heibel. George is wearing a very conservative suit. Last year he had purple. That's why we bring him as an MC. He's pretty gorgeous. And he's been our MC for quite a few years. And it was a no-brainer that we're doing this. You all know this is an annual event in a way, because we've been honoring folks for years here, part of the permanent forum. A lot of the Flying Eagle One Fund honorees are here in the room. I would ask you to stand, but I'm not sure I can get everybody. I hate to mistake, but Doris Suarez is here. Elsa Stenopoulos is here. I don't know who else is here, but a lot of honorees are here. The Flying Eagle One Fund was instrumental in that concept, and that started. Ingrid passed away. Rigoberta said, "Why are we always waiting for our folks to leave before we honor them? We need to honor our folks when they're alive and going and kicking." We put that to heart. Ollie put that to heart, and we've been doing these events. You all know that for a lot of years. And of course, when our brother passed, we had to do this. We knew that. But we weren't gonna leave it on that sad note. We were gonna leave it on, this is also an opportunity to honor the folks that we're gonna honor this evening. The first honor was done by the planning committee, which is Maki, which is Stephanie, which is Raho, which was Gail Small, which is Fran, which was Tricia Lynn. We've been working on this to make sure we got this as right as we could, and we have to apologize to all the folks who could have a really good story to tell here, or a dozen stories to tell. There's so many relationships in this room that this room is exploding for me. There's so much going on in here. And for me, it started in 1981 or 82, whenever Ingrid first came back from Cuba, and her and Bill Means were opening the Treaty Council office here in this building to begin that. We're coming to the UN. We got in the Human Rights Council in Geneva, and we got them, okay, we kicked open that door. Now we're going to be an NGO. We're going to do this work. And I was coming here to New York for something else, and doing meetings with Bill Wapipaw, my good friend, who was one of the founders of that, organizer of that whole process. He said, hey, go see our friend Ingrid. She's opening that office. Maybe you could help her figure out about fundraising or something. And I had a half-hour appointment with her, and we sat and visited for 3 hours up here, maybe on the 8th floor. I remember her sitting behind that great big desk, and that was a serious party right there. That was a serious person who was having fun, but who was going to get things done. I saw that. And if Bill said go talk to her, I had to go talk to her. Bill was her mentor, one of them, along with Bill Means and several others. So that was how it started for me. And then Ali showed up in '84 after he came. They were married in Lebanon, and he came over, and the Treaty Council had an annual gathering. It was in Sisseton, South Dakota, and it was, the Palestinians are here. Whoa, the Palestinians are here. About eight or nine young men were in a camp at that meeting. And I met Ali at that point. We didn't really connect, but I met him at that point, and I will tell a story. I won't tell you who, but one of the gentlemen from the American Indian movement, and they were getting ready to drive back across the country to New York from South Dakota. He said, oh, bro, you can't just be driving across the country looking like you and looking like her and doing this. He gave him a wrapped piece of hardware, shall we say, so he could get back across the country and survive it. And he never told Ingrid. She found out years later. But, that was the beginning of that. And I started working with Ingrid at that point on. I worked with her, not claiming any territory myself, but I worked with her all the way till she could rise. And that's been part of my history. And when she left, I'm kind of sorry, Maki. I kind of moved in with you guys for a while. We kind of got started on some things. And I've known Maki since he was in a stroller in our office in San Francisco while his mom was in a meeting in the conference room of the Treaty Council. And even then he was bigger than the stroller. Bigger than me now. So I always say that's your boss. The Palestinian side was as important as the native side, as important as any other side. Ali was not a color man. He was are you on the home team? Are you down for the human? Are you down for the people? Are you down for the struggle? And if you are, I don't care what you look like, we're in it. That was who he was, and that's who this room reflects. We look around, we see whom we are here. We are everybody that needs to be in this room, and we could have this room to be 500 people, and it would still not be big enough for the kind of world that he and Ingrid, and I'll have to say her name here, Esmeralda Brown, who was part of that home team. The team that built the original real sort of strategy within the UN system was Esmeralda in this building, Ingrid in this building from an office point of view, but bringing the native, native original people team to the table, and Elissa Stanotopoulos, who held it down at the UN side. Responsible for a lot of what we have here. And the three honorees, and again, this is a family event. The family decided who would speak, how much time we had. So But you have, if you have a gripe, bring it to me. I'm delegating to that. But we wish we could have had an open mic, but we don't have the time. But so apologies to everybody that wanted to speak. We have a recording booth in the back, out in the hall, if you want to leave a story. We're going to say a little bit. Stephanie Dodge is going to say a little bit briefly about the future, that some of the work, that how some of the work will carry on. It's still in frame, it's still in the basic genesis. It's not clear what's next, but it's not, this work is not going away. This is generational. So we're doing that as part of this evening. George is going to introduce some you have, oh, here it is. We definitely want to recognize this building. This building is a kind of the heartbeat, the location for the Indigenous movement, for the NGO world, the human rights world, with across the street from the UN, appropriately so. And this building is held down in an administrative and management sense by Velda Alarula, who's here, and she doesn't want to say nothing, but thinking around his right arm, left arm, 2 feet, everything is Morel ran, and Velda ran it with her, and Velda was down for this event from the moment we had to start thinking about it. It's made this available to us. And then the Reverend Dion Boissier, R.P. Boissier, is the resident chaplain of the Church Center for the United Nations. Reverend Boissier received her Master of Divinity from Union Theological Seminary in New York, and served both the seminary community and the local church for over a decade as the Associate Director of Development and Alumni Relations and Associate Minister of the New Hope Baptist Church in Danbury, Connecticut. Reverend Boissier serves on several international and community boards, including the Bureau of the Committee of Religious NGOs of the UN, the International Humanitarian Outreach Ministries Incorporated, and she's the co-chair of the Ecumenical Women at the UN, the Black Religious Scholars Group, the Wanted Project, and probably all of us are on that Wanted list, and Women Preach Incorporated. And we would invite Reverend Boissier to say a few words if she's willing. She may come up, and while she's doing that, I want to say that James mentioned the Peace Development Fund. The Peace Development Fund Board of Directors this year. The Peace Development Fund has supported this event along with the Flying Eagle Woman Fund, the American Indian Community House, the American Indian Law Alliance, the Rigoberta Menchú Tomb Foundation. That's the I don't know how you say 5. That's the triumvirate in 5 from who has been the presenters of these memorials, these honorings over the years. And though not every of them also made it onto the flyer, this is the community that we built from an NGO sense to make this happen. And the Church Center here has held it down for all of us for all these years. And we want to honor the Church Center for doing that. And we'll hope and pray that this continues for on into the future. So I'll yield the microphone.
And it has taken bye-bye.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Good evening. I didn't say anything. It's a very emotional moment. Last year at this event, in honor of my sister, Ali was the architect of making sure this difficult time after COVID. So amazed. I can't believe it. Right? A year, 2 years after Esmeralda Libras, and Ali he's a brother, permanent an ally, and he and his family Esmeralda into question. So for me to come to say bye, to be in this building, which you're going to explain what this building represents, it's a hard. But I felt I had to come because my sister loved. I should consider him a brother. They always say it's a brother. And I don't know if Mikey remember, but they were trying to reach me. I was traveling, and I promised I would be here for this event honoring my sister. And when I walked in and I sat there, he says, "Oh, I hope you know that if you didn't make it, I would beat you up even though you're taller than me." Because it's not like I'm marginalized to be an older brother to me. So that's the kind of person he was. People describe him, Ali was just a friend that always there. No condition, no precondition, not good time, he was just always there, he was there. Whatever he has, he shared with you. So I feel honored to be part of his family, to be part of his friend, and to join you all today saying, Ali, we say in Spanish that, the great people died for us, says, los muertos que nunca mueren. It's one of those with us. Thank you. Well, I'm back.
Well, at this point, we're going to actually honor people in our community. How do you want to do it? Bring them all up.
Why did you send me here to speak when you anticipated doing that? Right.
So I'm just the sous chef. This is the MC. George is always an MC. We've chosen 3 out of dozens that could be here this evening honored, but the 3 we're honoring at this point are folks that in the first days after Ingrid passed were picked up some particular pieces of the historical trajectory that Ali and Maki were embarking on. And we wanted to honor and recognize the 3 of you. Your friends. Let me holler. We're going to end up with an honoring Maki, because Maki's holding it down in a way that most of us probably can't imagine. We're going to honor Elissa, who's Ali's sister, who left her world to come over here and become the matriarch in the mix, the person who held it down in a family way, day in and day out, for Maki and Ali, while they were dealing and working their way through the months and the years after that tragedy in Venice, in Colombia, actually, Venezuela. Then we're going to honor Fran Rumley, who you've all known, who's always held down the kitchen during these events, but whose sister, Rosemary, said, Ali, you need Fran to start the Flying Eagle Woman Fund. You need her. And she held down the back office of the Flying Eagle Fund that allowed all of that work to go on. And so Fran is one of our 3 honorees. And then, without further ado, and without knowing how to say it adequately enough, that Elissa Aviles, Ingrid's daughter, Ingrid's sister, Ali's sister, family member. Elissa was there. She came as an intern in Columbia, from Columbia University, to work with Ingrid at the Fund of the 4 Directions, and never left. And became, again, a key pillar, 3 pillars of a milking school, think dairy wise, who held it together between Goddess, Fran, and Elissa. And there's a dozen other folks in here who could also fulfill some of those roles. But in the spirit of Rigoberta's comment, we're honoring the folks that are alive, that are carrying on, that are doing this work, that held it together for the family. And for Elissa, who's now Councilwoman Elissa Aviles of District 4, Sunset Park, and Red Hook in Brooklyn, on the City Council of New York City. I told her when she started to run, I say, okay, when you're living in the White House, me and Ali are going to be on the ground floor. Ali would come to Vermont, and the thing he loved to do most in Vermont, and he loved to do when he come visit me in San Francisco, was work in the garden, prune the trees, clean the grounds. He loved that. So we're going to be groundskeepers at the White House when Alexa's here. Elissa has her family, and Frankie's here. And anyways, I could talk for another hour myself, and I'll cut it there. But in what order we're going to do this? We start here. You're coming.
Also, everyone, Saboli, Stephanie Dodge, the West Bear Woman, I'm Menominee and Oneida. Ingrid is my auntie, Matthew is my brother. My parents are Stephen Dodge and Faye Dodge. And I'm really grateful for everyone that's here to make it, and for all of you watching on the live stream. I just want to say real briefly that moving forward, on behalf of the family, I'd like to make a statement about the transition with Flying Eagle Woman Fund, and how the family is going to move forward during this time. And so, like Paula said, we're kind of in this transition with Uncle Ollie passing and the work that he did with Flying Eagle Woman Fund, and we really wanted to recognize that, all of that in spirit tonight. And so, just briefly, I wanted to say that on behalf of the family, the Washtenawatuk family, my aunt Gina, who's watching, and the rest of our family that's in Menominee and the ones that are here tonight, we ask that that for the next year, our family have some time with each other, to take that time to kind of renew and restore our spirits and our hearts and our minds. It's been a long, I guess, road of healing for our family, losing Ingrid, and now losing Ollie. And we've continued to walk for each other and for the community. And so in this time, we'd like to just take that moment for ourselves, to be with the family and to get our hearts and our minds and our spirits together. And then we're gonna collectively figure out how we want to move forward with the Peto Matamo Archive and Flying Eagle Woman Fund and all of the work that Ollie and Ingrid did throughout their time, and how we're gonna recognize and honor both of them in a good way. And so what I have up here is some cards that explain a little bit about the Peto Matamo Archive, the email, if you want any further information or connections about how to donate or support efforts in the future movements, you can contact me. I'll be the one kind of solely leading this for the family. And these will be available. I'll put them on the back table, and you're all welcome to have any questions. You can meet me at the end after we're done with all the honoring. But I think at this time, I'd like ask Gada respectfully to come up, Mackie respectfully come up, and Fran and Alexa, please all come up and join us so we can give you this honoring. Paul, you want to do some? We're gonna give these beautiful individuals right now with the plaques and the blankets that we have for them. So I'll start with Gada, our matriarch. That seems fitting. So right here we have a plaque. Ingrid Washtenawatuk, Elissa, Peto Matamo, Flying Eagle Woman Fund, Peace, Justice, and Sovereignty Award 2023 for Gada Elissa. And then this star quilt is for Gada in remembrance of all her love that she has done for Mackie and our family. We love you, Gada. Next, we'd like to honor Frances Grumbly, who's been the backbone of Flying Eagle Woman Fund and is continuing to help us with this transition. And so I just want to wrap Fran in this blanket for her, Mackie. Yeah. And now, who you've heard so much about tonight, we'd like to honor Alexa. She's been the dear friend and has done so much for our family, and so we just want to honor Alexa at this time, and we're gonna wrap her in her blanket. There we go. And last but not least, for sure, all of us women, we're gonna wrap Mackie in this blanket. We're all here for him, and we're all continuing to walk and support our brother and the son of Ollie and Ingrid. So I'm gonna take this minute and wrap him in his own blanket. No, if any of them wants to say something, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to.
Been a long road that Ollie and I were on since Ingrid's passing. And it has been my privilege to work with my brother Ollie. I loved him very much, and he loved all of us and all of you. And he is sorely missed, but he will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Say something, Bob?
Something quick.
All right.
I want to thank everybody for being here. And my father, best friend, means a lot. Appreciate you all. Means a lot.
Wasn't gonna speak because I'm still. Well, Ali Elissa presente. Ali Elissa. Ali Elissa. You Capitan. Love you in. The amazing part of this that brings me joy is thinking about them together in the spirit world. When I think about that, whew, fire. And I just want to say, well, he is the only Menominee Palestinian. And someone at that. I just think they made a Puerto Rican. Thank you to the family. You know, the world works in amazing ways to have brought two warriors together who love through dreaming of liberation for their people, birthing that through all of us, right? Setting that fire in different ways. And so let's continue their legacy. Let's make sure that we fight for the liberation of our people because we are not free. And let's honor them by doing that and honor them by the kindness and the funniness that they both had and smiling and joking with each other. No one's allowed to call me Capitan but Ali, but I'll take it. I'm gonna give you a house. But I love you all. Thank you so much. And thank you, Maggie, for sharing your amazing parents with the whole world. Right. And Gala, you are unbelievable. And the family, thank you, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Lastly, before you go, we just have one final closing song by some singers from back home. So if you wanna come up. Oh, you want us? Okay, cool.
All right,
Contrary to popular belief, we got more than one song. All right, we're going to have an honoring song first, and we'd like the people from back home come on up here. They're going to be singing. And then we're going to be doing a closing or traveling song after. But what I would like the singers to do, if possible, I would like them to do a traveling song that's a round dance. And then we're going to open up these pathways on either side by moving the chairs here. And we're going to end this out by doing a round dance and closing remarks. Where are my singers? Come on up, please. And after we do the honoring song. Hello. Oh, I think the singers are coming up here now. Here we go, they look fierce. So, will you guys, come on, you guys know it's all around there. All right. Everybody stand up, please. Stand up, and can I have silence? Can I have silence for the honoring song? Excuse me. Gentlemen. I guess I gotta come all the way up here to tell you we're gonna do a round dance.
There you go, man.
All right, now I'm gonna cause problems here. You're all standing. I want you to take the chairs that you're in and move them towards the center of the room. Because we gotta have room at the edges, so both sides. Chair towards the center, towards the pole. And then what I want you to do is once you clear that space, I want you all to look at each other and hold hands. And what we're going to end out today with is a round dance, which is basically also known as a friendship dance. And gives you an opportunity to meet with each other. Please. On the chair. Yeah. You want me to get you a couple parts? Only right, we can do it. Right. Grab the drum right behind. Pull it out of the bag. Little stick. Give it to the person who wants to drum. All right. Ladies and fellows around here, please. Fill in this area around here. Come on. Go ahead and meet with these people over here. Hold hands. Looking inside. Join hands. Go join hands. I'm going to be back here. All right, this is a side step. I hope most of you know how to do things. Give me a round dance beat. Give me a round dance beat. Can you hear that? All right, everybody. Come on. Side step. Good, doing good. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Oh, another one, another one. Hold on. We need one more. Let's go, let's go. Oh, stop looking serious. Hey.
That's just my look. Tell him. He can't have them bossy Native women.
Well, you know the way they know that. You know how they. Wow.
That's some